right, so good morning, and I am saying good morning because we're going to be using the crock pot today, so it'll cook all day. So when you use a crock pot, you can get everything done in the morning, put in the crock pot, and it can slow cook all day. So today we're going to make chili. So I'm just going to show you quickly. We're going to mince up a couple of cloves of garlic. You know, this is a small garlic, so I use 3. And I'm just going to cut the last one now. And you can see how small I'm doing it. All right. So that is minced, right? We went over that in an earlier lesson with this distance learning. And then I'm using just half an onion. And once again, I'm going that way. All right. And then just very small. And this, over the course of the 8 hours we're going to have it cook, is just going to disintegrate into the sauce. It's just to add flavor. The garlic and the onion is just to add flavor. I'm going to make sure that these are really done. All right, so I washed my hands before this. I have some onion juice on my hands, so I'm going to wash it again. And then I'm going to take the camera from my camera person. And then we'll get going with mixing everything up to make the chili. So I'm going to take this, right, and switch around. All right, so I'm back. So now I'm going to take the lid off of the crock pot, okay? So earlier this morning, I browned and then drained. I used some ground chicken. You can use ground beef. Some people use beef and sausage, but I'm going to use ground chicken because that's what my family likes. So I'm going to switch this around here, and I'm going to take this and put it into the crock pot. So I sauteed it up in the pan, and then I drained it. I got rid of all the fat, all right? So just going to put this over here. Good. All right. So now I have the meat in there. I'm now getting a very small colander because now I'm going to put the beans in. I only use 1 can of beans. I use the dark red kidney beans. Overall, my family is not especially my kids, a huge fan of the beans. They'll eat it, but it adds another layer of protein, another layer of flavor. Okay, so you saw how I rinsed it off. All right, I got that all set. And there I go, and I dump it in. All right. Now, I have a can of crushed tomatoes, and what I'm going to do is I want to cover it and mix it just so there's enough. And I need a spoon here. Okay. Here we go. And it just need it to be incorporated kind of all the way through. All right, so another great thing about chili is one of those things that you can kind of have your own recipe, and excuse the camera angle here. I had some leftover crushed tomatoes from another recipe that it looks like will be a perfect amount to fill it up in here. So make sure it's incorporated, and you just want it. Now the moisture, there'll be moisture added when it's cooking. So it's like I said, it's just enough to make sure it's covered. And now I can add those finely minced onion, half an onion, and 3 small cloves or 2 large cloves of garlic. That's going in. All right, so like I said, we had onion, garlic, beans, meat, and of course the crushed tomatoes, right? So now, what makes it chili is the chili powder. So a good rule of thumb is either, a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half per pound of meat that you cover up. And I have 3 pounds of meat in there. So I'm going to put probably 3 tablespoons of chili powder in there, maybe 4 to 5 depending on it, all right? So what is chili powder? It's really a combination of like some cayenne pepper, some cumin, some paprika, some garlic, and some onion powder, and sometimes oregano, all right? So obviously we've added some garlic and onion in there already. And now I'm just going to put this here. Oh, I got to switch you around. Here I am. And now I'm going to measure in, if I can find my measuring spoons, and put in 3 teaspoons. 1 and 2 and 3. All right. So, as you can see, now it's in there, and I'm just going to mix it up. All right. And that will give it the chili flavor. So you can actually do this with tofu and beans and make it a vegetarian dish. Obviously, most chilies are made with beef, so you can do that as well. Like I said, my family, you know, especially my daughter and my wife, really prefer the chicken to the beef, so that's why I'm using that today. And the other thing my family likes is spice. So I'm going to add a little bit of crushed red pepper. Now, crushed red pepper, I'm sure some of you have had it on pizza, and you go, no, I'm not doing it, see? I'm not, the cap is on, right? So and you're going like that. But when you cook crushed red pepper, as you can see, I didn't add much at all, okay? So when you add crushed red pepper and it starts cooking, that flavor is going to permeate throughout the chili. It's going to go all through that chili. So you don't need a lot to get a lot of spice in there. As it cooks for 8 hours, it's going to go throughout the chili, and you'll have the chili powder flavor in there, and then when you add that crushed red pepper, it'll add a little spice to it. And the key is that you want to make sure you put it towards your taste, all right? So you can always add a little more spice at the end, a little hot sauce, a little crushed red pepper afterwards, but once it's in, it's very, very difficult to take away unless you add like a potato or something and cook it in, but nobody wants potato in their chili, you know? So, well, maybe not nobody. So anyway, you want to make sure you don't want to over spice it, but if you're a person who likes spicy foods, like I do, you want to add a little crushed red pepper. So I'm just going to put the lid back on, flip this around, and it's just like the crock pot we have at Next Step. You just hit the cook time. Oh, it would help if I plugged it in. There we are. 4, 6, you hit it again, 8. All right, so in 8 hours that chili will be ready. All right, let me show you one more thing. And when the 8 hours is done, it just goes to warm. So if it's like situation, you're like, well, sometimes I work, I get home at 4, sometimes it's 5, it'll still be good. You can cook all day. That's the real plus of a crock pot. You can put everything together in the morning, put it in a safe place on your stovetop or on your countertop. It'll cook very slowly throughout the day. And then when you get home from work, you'll have dinner. So enjoy your chili.